Hi everyone, my name is Eva. I'm an executive wellness consultant. Welcome back to my channel. This is a book review on the book called Strangers, A Memoir of Marriage. This is the book. And I was finally able to finish it last week. I was on a couple of trips, and since the last time that I spoke to you about this book, the last time that I went on and talked to you about this book, I didn't even bother finishing it because I knew it was going to be a hit. And coincidentally, or you could say it's a synchronicity, where a week or two later after I made my video, they announced that they would make this into a movie, and this author has been interviewed in several podcasts, and I'm incredibly happy for her because she emulates what all the professors and teachers and everyone that I grew up with, how she carries herself, her demeanor, and how she tries to do the right thing always, and she corrects herself and corrects others in the process of her day-to-day, and I really admire her composure, and so really happy for her, and so this is a book about her divorce, and there are 5 points that I want to make about this book, and it is definitely a book that you want to read this year. If you don't read anything else, this is a really good book that you want to learn from. Really, it's her demeanor and what was really nice and what she had. And so this is the first point that I want to make about this book, is where Belle Burden, fortunately she had a tiny bit of support from her stepmother, Susan, who was, I believe she is a therapist herself, and helped her with how to behave in certain situations, and really talked to her, made sense to her on what was normal about the separation and what wasn't, and really kept her grounded. And it was she's very good at, Belle is very good at creating an image in your mind on everything that's going on in her interactions and with different people in the book. And it is very fortunate that she had Susan by her side to help her get through some of the marriage, but really Belle got herself through it as well, as best as she could, losing her identity and everything that she knew. And then there's the second point I want to make about this book is that she talks about self-actualization, and it wasn't until after she divorced where she really almost found herself. And so the book talks about that self-actualization, which is really important. I invite you to also watch some of her interviews. She was featured on Oprah as well recently, and it was a really great interview. And I think that's really important, where some people get lost, where they get married and they lose themselves and forget about that self-actualization that you want to go through in life. And so she brings you back to that realization that you want to keep alive in your life. Third point I wanted to make about this book is that I was really surprised that she talked about spirituality, how she found she had, she talked about relatives that had passed away that were near her at different points of the book. And I really felt that presence myself as she talked about it. And I invite you to really look and read through that thoroughly, because it's very much felt. And then, as you can see, I made notes for myself in the book that were, that I found really interesting as I read it. And so that was the third point. Fourth point I wanted to make is that if you ever feel that you want to write about yourself or something that's similar to this, Belle was interviewed on a different podcast, and she mentioned this very important point that I want to point out. This is the fourth point. And she mentions that while writing this, and I think she learned this while taking a course on writing a memoir, but I think she also mentions that she gave her agent credit for this. She says the best memoirs are compassionate about the villain and complicate the victim. And I thought that was very endearing, because not everyone knows to do that when you're writing a memoir, to remember to create compassion for the villain and to complicate the victim. And so that kind of keeps you engaged in the story. And then, so finally, the fifth point, let's see. Oh, sorry. Fourth, actually. This is the fourth point. Sorry, I got lost. I said third was spirituality. Fourth was this concept about creating compassion for the villain, and then complicating the victim. And then fifth, so there's actually six to seven things I wanted to say about this book. This is a manual for anyone going into a marriage. You want to make sure that you take your lawyer's advice, absolutely, when signing any prenup. And then, what else here? I guess I want to combine just the last 2 points. One is just that she kept her lawyer hat on through this book, where it was very factual and she laid out the facts, but at the same time you were able to feel her emotions through the book. And it was really well written. She uses really elegant language, but not so much where it's not impossible to understand her. She seems like the type of person that's very approachable, and the type of person that I know people to be here in New England, where I grew up. And she emulates a beautiful example of how to behave, even though I'm sure there are moments where she just felt, very, very sad and at some points maybe wanting to do things that you may not want, you would regret in the future. So I just admire her composure through the whole thing. And then finally, I want to point this out too, is she mentions that, what is this? So she explains having compassion for herself and trusting her husband and doing it all out of love and understanding that there is nothing shameful about that. And so really understanding that about herself was also really admirable. And so that's my final point I want to share with you that she explained in the book. But there's so many other great scenes in the book that are very juicy, and people keep talking about this sandwich that she makes at the very beginning of the story. But so there's so much more in the book that really surprises you through the behavior of other people. But so again, I'm so incredibly happy for Belle, and I definitely want to recommend this book. And so that's why I hopped back on here again to make video number 2 for this, and let you know that I did finish it, and I was really happy to get through it, and let you know that you should definitely pick it up and support Belle by purchasing it for yourself and your family and friends. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.